Real quickly before we begin, I want to thank this video's sponsor, CarMarshal.com. CarMarshal.com can save you lots of money on buying used or new vehicles, cars, trucks, school buses. If you want to save money, I'll have a link in the description down below. I know I'm going to...
I'm Scott Peterson. I've been a police officer for 30 years. I've been a school resource officer for 25 years. And go Eagles.
Former Broward Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson resigned under heavy criticism for not engaging gunman Nicholas Cruz, who was accused of murdering 17 students and staff at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland.
Scott Peterson was absolutely on campus through this entire event. But what I saw was a deputy arrive at the west side of Building 12, take up a position, and he never went in. Devastated, sick to my stomach.
But personnel files show the 30-year BSO veteran achieved good to superlative grades on his most recent annual employee evaluation. His superiors acknowledged that his work as a school resource officer was appreciated by the people he was assigned to protect. Meanwhile, one teacher said that it would have been fruitless for Peterson to confront the gunman.
Cop who cowered in fear as Parkland kids were murdered now receives $8,700 per month pension. The deputy who refused to confront the gunman during the Parkland shooting was allowed to quietly retire and is now receiving more than $100,000 a year in state pension funds. By Rachel Blevins, May 16, 2018. Parkland, Florida. The police officer who was publicly shamed after he was caught by surveillance camera waiting outside of a high school while children were shot and killed inside, was allowed to quietly retire and is now making more than $100,000 a year from state pension funds. Scott Peterson, 55, a sheriff's deputy who served as the school resource officer at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, was allowed to retire 1 week after a former student opened fire, killing 17 people on February 14. Peterson was openly criticized for his blatant lack of response during the shooting, but after a few weeks, his name faded from the headlines. The former deputy is now receiving a state pension of $8,702.35 each month, which equals around $104,428 per year, according to a report from the Sun-Sentinel. Peterson worked in Broward County for 32 years, and a spokesperson for the Sheriff's Department confirmed that he is being investigated for his actions during the shooting, but they did not say how long the investigation would take. One of the main questions that was being asked in the immediate aftermath of the shooting at Stoneman Douglas was why suspected gunman Nicholas Cruz was not apprehended by a school resource officer during his rampage, especially considering the fact that his troubled record, which showed that he was disciplined 58 times by the school district between 2012 and 2017, should have made officials aware that he may return to campus after he was suspended. Cruz also left several threatening comments on social media in which he stated that he planned to become a professional school shooter, and he directly threatened other students with physical harm. The FBI received multiple credible reports about Cruz in the months leading up to the shooting, and police were called to his home nearly 40 times in recent years over reports of mentally ill person, child/elderly abuse, domestic disturbance, and missing person. Yet not only was Cruz allowed on campus on the day of the shooting, but one student claimed she ran into him in the hallway and jokingly told him she would have expected that he would be the one to carry out a school shooting, while gunshots rang out in the background. Police claim Cruz exited the school by blending in with other students who were fleeing. As the veteran officer who was stationed at the school, Scott Peterson should have been aware that a suspended student was threatening violence, and when he heard reports of gunshots, he should have been the first one to confront the shooter. In the limited surveillance footage that has been released from the day of the shooting, Peterson can be seen running towards a golf cart at about the same time the first 911 call was made to Coral Springs police reporting a shooting. It was during that time that Peterson reportedly said over his police radio, "Be advised we have possible, could be firecrackers, I think we have shots fired, possible shots fired 1200 building. According to a timeline of the shooting from the Sun Sentinel, Cruz was picked up by an Uber at 2:06 p.m. and dropped off at the school at 2:19 p.m. He then entered the freshman building at 2:21 p.m. The shooting reportedly lasted 7 minutes, which included enough time for a freshman student named Chris McKenna to find Cruz loading his rifle, and then to flee to get help when Cruz told him, "Things are gonna start getting messy." The news that Peterson waited outside of the building while a massacre was ongoing and children were being killed inside sparked outrage among many, and in response, Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel said, "I am devastated. Sick to my stomach." He never went in. If Peterson had chosen to stay on the job, he would have been suspended, but he likely would still be receiving his full paycheck. If he had confronted the shooter as soon as he heard reports of gunshots, the death toll from the massacre could have been significantly lessened. Instead, Peterson was allowed to quietly retire, and the treatment he received serves as a reminder of both Broward County's long history of police corruption and the lack of accountability police officers in the United States face on a daily basis. From a police captain who was caught on camera beating a woman in a bar, to a police detective who was found guilty of creating child pornography involving girls as young as 13 years old, police officers are often allowed to quietly retire after they have been caught committing heinous crimes, and Scott Peterson will likely be just another name on the list of corrupt cops who are now enjoying their state pensions, while escaping all consequences for their actions.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.